Oh, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Outside Insider. I hope you are all well on this Monday evening. We're inching closer and closer to Eagles training camp. The wait is nearly over. Sooner or later, the Novacare complex will once again be filled with our favourite birded friends, and they will be fighting it out for roster spots, which means it's almost time to do a roster prediction. Now, I haven't done a 53-man roster prediction yet. I've been kind of saving it. I think it's silly to do one just after the draft. It's silly to do one, like maybe May, June time. But now we're in the heat of July and summer is just starting. I think there is no better time to dive into the Eagles roster and just try and get a feel for who we think is going to make this cut. So I figure what we'll try and do is go through this together. So I'll end up sharing my screen in a second. And what we'll do is just position by position break down the players that we think will be making the Eagles roster in 2025. And there are some pretty intriguing roster battles. There are some underdogs that might make the cut, some that simply won't. And it's going to be a lot of fun to dive into. So what I'm going to do, if I'm not a boomer, is share this one. I'll just share my entire screen. It'll be easier if I do that, won't it? If it'll let me. Cool. I think this works. Nice. Okay, so now you can see a horrible template of literally everything. What we're going to do is just go through each position. I've got to remember them all now and pretend I'm not a complete novice at this. Offensive. We'll split this into each spot for offensive line because I think there's a few different ways that can go. Linebacker, corner, safety, and then special teams, isn't it? So so really we can go off the bat here. I mean, we've got the depth chart up, so the idea is we can kind of go back and forth. This is all the players the Eagles currently have on their roster going into the summer months. And what our job, or my job, is going to be is to try and work out who stays and who goes. I think we can pencil in the starters already. Like, they're not going to be going anywhere. But I think what we want to do is try and make this as accurate as we can. I'm going to just get my iPad because I want to make sure I have the chat open so I can see what you guys are saying. So I think that's also quite important. I can interact with some of my terrible takes, and you can let me know how bad it goes. What's up, Mark? How are you doing? Let's get a crack in then. Let's start with the obvious one. If you are just tuning in and could leave a like, that would be absolutely amazing. Jalen Hurts, does he make the roster? Tough to say, isn't it, really, for Jalen Hurts? Pretty okay year. Yes, he won a Super Bowl. Yes, he won Super Bowl MVP. Is that good enough to make? Yes, it is. He's fine. QB2 gets really interesting. So you've got Tanner McKee, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and DTR. Now, I don't know about practice squad. I mean, I can leave a spotlight down here. I mean, we shouldn't use that many roster spots. Anyway, that's fine. And yeah, all right. We'll put some names on there that might end up potentially on the practice squad, but it always gets a bit weird because they end up signing players from other teams and that sort of thing. So the real question with quarterback is simply whether or not DTR takes the book over Kyle McCord. So Tanner McKee is penciled in. I think he could be QB2 or 3. We won't go depth chart just yet. Let's just stay for now with he's on the depth chart, right? I don't think he's going to be going anywhere for the time being. Can't wait to see Tanner in the preseason. I agree, Mark. I really agree. I think he's going to be a lot of fun, especially now that the Eagles have brought in some competition for him in the way of Kyle McCord. Now, that man's interesting. We broke down his tape, I think it was last Monday or last Wednesday, and just dove into what he's actually going to bring to the Eagles this season. I'm not overly sold on the footwork. I think he's got all the throws. I think he's got the right build. He's like 6'6". He can sling it. He throws a really, really pretty spiral. He reminds me a lot, and I said this on the stream, of rookie era Sam Bradford, of just throwing these beautiful spirals deep down the field, really, perfectly lofted, dropping it in a bucket. The issue is the pocket presence. It's sensing pressure. We know he's not the most athletic quarterback in the world, so he's going to struggle to evade pressure. For now, if I'm honest, I'm not a fan of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Just want to make sure I spell his name right. I'm going to pencil him in here just purely because the Eagles are going to need a veteran of some kind, right? They're going to need someone to man the ship. Like, realistically, you've got to think of it this way. If you're Howie Roseman or Nick Sirianni, in that, at the end of the day, if it comes to week 12, week 13, you've got the division potentially on the line. Washington are looking good. You've got 2 games coming up against them. And Jalen Hurts picks up a knock and you're down 7 points with 3 minutes to go. Do you trust Tanner McKee yet? I don't know if we do. I love him. I think he's got a lot to show and a lot of room to grow. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson is, at this point, more of the veteran play. Like, if we go on his profile here, I mean, he's still 25 years old, but on a plethora of, you know, potential performing platforms even over the last couple of years. He's been more of a preseason guy that's just ruined every DraftKings thing I've ever put him in. I think I said this before as well. But at this point, I would take that and a little bit more athleticism from him than what I'd see from Kyle McCord. I would put Kyle McCord practice squad level, which I think is now 12 players, if I'm not mistaken. I think McCord would be in the practice squad because realistically, he's just not there yet. Tanner McKee, I would absolutely trust. Bird Brain, you're completely right in that. I agree with you. I think he would be the go-to guy there. But if it comes to McKee v DTR, I think DTR would probably have an edge just because of that league experience. He's had a couple more seasons under his belt. I don't know. I think he just would be the go-to. Running back, I think, needs no introduction. Again, this isn't depth chart. This is just going to be from a purely, roster standpoint. So Saquon Barkley's in. Right, he's unchallenged. We know Will Shipley should be around. I think the question from there simply becomes whether or not the Eagles decide to go a bit heavier with AJ Dillon. Like, we know he's a big character guy. He's obviously got a great track record if we go on his profile here. With the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, he kind of speaks for himself. He's averaging what, like 650 yards a year from the last season. I wish it's an audio. I don't want to get copyrighted. But 7 touchdowns 2022, played 15 games in 2023. I know obviously Green Bay's situation has changed somewhat now, but they're going to probably need Dillon, I think. Like, you can't just go into a season with 2 running backs. And they did it last year as well, of course, right? So they had that change of pace behind Saquon, and it worked quite well. So I think running back for now remains unchanged. That's another one where I don't think we're going to see many changes for the Eagles this year. So these should be pretty straightforward for now. Wide receiver, things get interesting. We know A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith aren't going anywhere. They're contracted for, I think, through 2028, the pair of them. Now it gets weird. I mean, if we look at the depth chart of receivers, all right, who are we choosing from? Johnny Wilson, I think absolutely stays. I think Johnny Wilson isn't going anywhere. He looked probably the best, like, from that class. Obviously, you had like Aniyah Smith in there as well, but didn't really do too much. Wilson, for me, had the most upside of any of the receivers that were exhibited through the season, purely because he could be used as this big slot weapon. He's the only receiver that I think comes close to AJ Brown's physique and is like just tenacity around the catch point, like someone that's big and bulky, can box out cornerbacks, and make those tight contested catches. And he's also got a bit of zip. So I think Johnny Wilson is in. It then just becomes a case of how much deeper do you go? Like, the big battle, which people I don't think are talking enough about, is Terrace Marshall potentially, if you put him in the slot. You've also then, if you go to the slot position, Jahan Dotson, Smith, I don't think Taylor Morin's going to come close. So it's going to be any number. Like, realistically, Jahan Dotson, I don't think it's going anywhere. So we'll put Jahan Dotson in there. He's fine. What's up, Daniel? Hope you're doing good, man. Jahan Dotson's in. You probably need one more body. I don't think they need to go too heavy at wide receiver, especially now with how much they run the ball. Like, you just don't need that much depth. But if in a horrible situation, Brown and Smitty were to both go down, Wilson, Dotson isn't the cleanest thing to hang your hat on. So from there, it's an Aniyah Smith, however you pronounce it, and I can't pronounce his name, or like random guys. I don't trust Terrace Marshall, right? A lot of people go to that and say he's pretty good. For those of you that have been long-time viewers of PSN, I have never, ever been a fan of Terrace Marshall. When he came out in college, I was probably one of the only people to say, I don't like his game. I think he's overrated. I don't know what people see in him. And so many people were shoehorning him for the Eagles. And I understand the draft class he came from and how that ultimately turned out. So maybe the less said about that, the better. But I just didn't see it. I don't think he did anything outstanding. I don't think he had anything unique to his game that was a selling point for teams that needed a wide receiver. Like, he just felt so overvalued. Like, at the time, he was being projected as like a second-round pick. And I think that's ultimately where he went, to Carolina. But I just didn't see it. And I don't think he's done anything in the NFL that I would deem noteworthy of keeping around in this room. You know, if you're talking about Vegas, if you're talking about Dallas potentially, like the Giants or teams that are maybe trying to rebuild their receiving room and they could use a couple of older guys with younger ones coming up and beginning to find their footing, then fine. But by this point, AJ Brown's a proven vet. Devontae Smith is a proven vet. Jahan Dotson's proven himself. I don't think Marshall's going to be there in line to start. So then it becomes a case of, do you value him enough to play him over the rookie you've drafted in Smith? And for me, I don't, because I'm really high on Smith. And now that could come across as bias. It could come across as a bit silly. I think Smith has so much more to his game. And when you go back and look at that Texas A&M tape, how shifty, how quick, how elusive he can be, the difficulty I think he has is just trying to do too much with the ball in his hands, right? As soon as that ball is in his hands, he struggles to keep his eyes down the field. He's constantly looking to like hurdle a guy or to spin somewhere or to pull off some extraordinary move. And we haven't seen him in 12 months. We don't know what his game looks like now. So I think that would be the play. And I think he also offers you a little bit on the outside as well, because he does have, you know, he's a little bit smaller as a wide receiver, but I think you could line him up outside. So I think you've got a good versatile nature there where Smith, you know, realistically, you're your A and your B receiver, or your X and your Y receiver here. Johnny Wilson can fill both spots. He can also play in the slot, and Smith is predominantly a slot that can also play outside as well. So I personally would go Smith over, just purely because I just do not trust Terrace Marshall. I'm just not a fan of his game, and I don't know why. Maybe I need to do a film room. Maybe we need to sit down as a chat and go through his tape. But I just do not see. I just don't see it. I just really, really don't see it. Birdbrain says, I will say Marshall feels like this year's Paris Campbell, which is an interesting analogy. Like, I don't mind that. I think that could have some weight to it. But there's just something about Terrace's game, and I can never put a finger on it. But I'm going to move on, because I could just yap about Terrace Marshall all night, and it's not going to be entertaining for anyone. But I hope you're right. I hope he proves me wrong. And I know that every time he makes a catch in training camp or a big reception in preseason, that my mentions are going to be lit up with people from years ago saying, "Oh, you must feel great, Liam." Like, I'm looking forward to it, but I just do not see it. Like, I think especially with the way the Eagles are building, right? Like, you need to kind of prioritize these younger players, and you spent 2 draft picks on both Johnny and Ainias Smith, both guys who I think can do numbers at the next level. Wilson's had more exposure to the NFL. Smith has looked good in spurts, obviously. Came in for a bit of a pinch there towards the end of the campaign. I think he's got some upside. So that's where I would go for wide receiver. Tight end is also an intriguing one, because they still don't have a guaranteed tight end too. So as things stand, we know Dallas Goedert is back with the team for 2025. It could be his last contract with the Eagles. We'll have to wait. And my mic's been off the whole time. Has my mic been off the whole time? How long has that been off? Can you hear me now? How long has the mic been off? Don't tell me it's been off like loads. Hang on, let me check the comments. Okay, no one's said it. Can you hear me now? I can't. How long has that been off? Don't say it's been off the whole. Hopefully it hasn't, because I've just been yapping away. Please, someone let me know in the comments. I mean, I think that it can't be. We've only the whole time. Okay, thank God. I saw the light go red on my microphone. Sorry, Bear, I didn't mean to panic you at 6:15 over there. I saw the red light on my mic and I panicked. So unless it's registering the map, either way, Dallas Goedert back for one more year with the Eagles. We know that's fine. We know this could be his last deal. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. What's up, Duck? Good evening to you as well, my friend. Tight end 2 realistically just is Grant Calcaterra. I really like Calcaterra. I think that he showed a lot of promise in his rookie season and then kind of went from a special teamer to getting more offensive snaps in his second year. And he made the most of them. Like, there were some real good stretches of play from Calcaterra. And he's just got that. Like, not superstar Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz-esque potential, but he's got a little bit as if he's more akin to a slot receiver than I would say he is to a tight end. And that is worth its weight in gold. The difficulty with him is run blocking, which I did think improved as the season went on. But, like, the other options now behind, if you're going to keep a third, you've got Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson. So if you've got both of their profiles here, right? Harrison Bryant, 27 years old. We know he's had a pretty solid career, most of it in Cleveland, Raiders. Different skills. Oh, stop playing audio and getting me taken off the internet. I'm not having it. Former Colt, obviously, he's been there since 2021. I mean, one of them. I think that's gonna be that's a penny flip to me. I think that is a pure coin flip. I don't know which of the two is going to be serviceable on that roster, and I really wish. Look, I'm going to be on the American side here. The ESPN, when I go on it, wouldn't load up the UK site and show me height in meters and weight in kilograms. All right, give me feet and inches and pounds. All right, long live America. Happy in July 4th for last Friday. I'm going to put Granson just because I've never really rated Harrison Bryant, and that's just from a purely fan-based, NFL red zone, having parlays on has Harrison Bryant ever done anything on a field that I've noted? No. I think Kylen Granson's been a little bit more vocal on that forefront. But realistically, it will be whichever of those two wins the roster battle, I think. Like whichever of those two jukes out in training camp is going to get that above the other. So like that's a coin flip. That's your first real roster battle, I think, for that vacant tight end spot. Because realistically, one of them could end up displacing Calcaterra. Like if they go, especially with Saquon around, like you need that run blocking proficiency, and if they want to run like nub tight ends or 12 personnel or whatever, you're gonna need run blocking prowess. And if one of those guys gives you more than Grant Calcaterra does, then I think that's going to be an option for them. Duck says he's missing a major issue with and he doesn't block well, which I think is definitely what's holding him back. However, what they could do then, if we're being creative, is get rid of Ainias Smith, potentially, and have Calcaterra in this weird middle ground where he plays both. And you either have Granson or Bryant as the backup, and then you have Calcaterra is like the slot receiver, and then Johnny Wilson is your X and Y. So I think that, thought I could undo. Apparently not. Ignore me. I have to retype the names. No bother. I have hands. Who is it? Ainias Smith. Cool. All right. Well, we'll leave time for now. We'll come back to it. But I think that's going to be a very intriguing battle for both players for sure there, of Granson and Harrison Bryant. Offensive tackle, if we go to the depth chart, is interesting. Lane Johnson, then it's kind of like you've got two rookies there, and Kendall Lamb, who I think was a really underrated part of this offseason. Like, not a lot of people are talking about that. I'm not saying he's going to be... who am I thinking? Like Mekhi Bryant or like Mekhi Becton? Where Bryant from? He's not going to be that level of like, a veteran comes in and all of a sudden he's going to be a Pro Bowler. Like, it's a solid backup. And on the other side, you've got Jordan Mailata, Miles Hinton, Holland Pierce. Like, there's not a ton of depth there. So if we pencil in both starters for the time being of Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, you really want one swing tackle and then maybe a swing guard. You kind of have to do this like offensive line through that way. So, like for instance, center, we know Cam Jurgens, we know Tyler Steen, and we know Landon Dickerson, right? That's fine. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They normally keep like, I want to say 8 to 9 offensive linemen. There have been times when they've kept more than that. Ainias Smith is a small wide receiver. If anything, you would step away Wilson at the big body back. A big body receiver. Yeah, I think having that duality is nice though. If you've got someone that they're still searching for that viable slot receiver. Like Jahan Dotson did it in occasion last year. I don't think he was reliable enough or had enough exposure to warrant investing heavily in the position. But if you can get, ideally for Smith, you wouldn't be using him on like vertical routes, challenging safeties. You'd want him in this horizontal, like, picking up sort of hot, like pitches and off-ball passes and stuff like that, where you can just kind of end your way around the back of the backfield and pick up some blocks. So those sort of orbit routes are going to be where he's most dangerous for the Eagles. Or, says Birdbrain, you could run pseudo 13 personnel packages, which is technically 12, with Brown, Wilson, Calcaterra, and Goddard. Wilson being your... Yeah, I think that works as well. So they've got some creativity there. So in that case, then, don't be surprised if I guess they do go light and they only keep 4, and you've got Brown, Smitty, Wilson, Dotson, and maybe they pick up a 4th tight end because they know they're going to use one in those extra sets. So that is certainly something to watch as well. But back to this. So for an offensive tackle, they're probably going to keep Kendall Lamb, if we're being honest. Like they need someone with NFL experience, because then behind them it's Kinnard and it's Cameron Williams, and obviously both of them now rookies this year. I think Cameron Williams for me has a little bit more upside from what I've seen. But I thought Kinnard was like a guard though, or am I wrong on that? I could have swore Kinnard was a guard. Oh no, they did draft 2 tackles, didn't they? It was back to back. Okay, all right. So admittedly, I don't know as much about guards and tackles to do about the other areas on the field. Obviously, you don't watch as much film on, the trenches sort of thing. Well, let's go. I mean, you got Trevor Keegan there as well. Kenyon Green was another one. He was the guy acquired from Houston. That's going to be your more Becton level pick. I think he stays. Right. So if we go, I'm still unsure. Still unsure on that. We'll put Kenyon Green in. We'll put Trevor Keegan. So we'll put both of those. Oh, not up there. I don't want Kenya. Oh, come off it. I've just searched Kenyon Green draft. No. Right, back it. Right. Kenyon Green. And then Trevor Keegan. Right, we'll get both of those in. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that gives us 9. That's 9 players. And then at center, you've got Drew Kendall, who's also obviously a rookie this year. That gives you 10. They might go one more. They might end up going with Kinnard. Yeah, I would probably assume it would be Kinnard. I could have swore he was a guard, but if he's swaying, that would make even more sense. So we'll put Kinnard there as well. Is it Darian? I can barely put Darian. Okay, I can barely my mouse because my iPad's on the mouse, man. It's not going very well. All right, so how are we at? So through the offense, we've now got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 2, 3, 26, which I would say is pretty solid, right? So we've got 26 through offense. Make a note of that. And then bear in mind that special teamers, we're going to need 3, which are kind of obvious ones anyway. So we don't really need to count them. So that puts us at 29 with the defense to go. Holly Pierce has played both right tackle and left tackle. Oh, don't tell me that now. I'll just look at the roster. If we've got a spot at the end, we'll put him back in. Or maybe they put Kinnard at guard and Pierce there, and we can just see if we can shoehorn the rest in. Depending, because I think defense is a little bit easier to judge than offense when it comes to this roster. I think that would be my assumption anyway. I could be wrong on that, but to me, that certainly feels the way. Right, defensive tackle, 2 big names that need no introduction: Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. After that, things get a little bit interesting. So we'll have a look. For me, I think Ty Robinson automatically gets a shoe-in, and they want that 4-man rotation. I think Moro Ojomo is probably going to be that guy. But I think that's going to come down to Ty Robinson versus Thomas Booker, and whether I'm not sure if they can put Booker on the practice squad because of how many games he's played, but that's worth noting. So that's the easiest position group, I think, to do, just because it just is so simple for those guys. At edge, that is an interesting one, isn't it, at defensive end? Because realistically now you have Nolan Smith. They've just brought in a ton of new faces as well. There's no more Bryce Huff. So it's Nolan Smith. You're going to have to put Jalix Hunt there. You're going to have to. I don't think he starts. I think he could be a rotational piece, but I think he's certainly there. Josh Uche, I would assume would be the next one up. And then one more. Again, this isn't depth. This is just doing the roster. Probably Aziz. But then it depends on, I would say, Antoine Powell Ryland Jr. and how well he does in training camp, because I know he had a lot of buzz when he was signed so late in the draft. A lot of Eagles fans are excited about that, and we're yet to get to his film room, but I am excited to dive into that. So we'll put Aziz Ojulari there for now. Okay, that's fine, and it puts Hunt there, and it doesn't mean you waste a spot at linebacker because you've got something, or you've got him on the roster, right? I think we had this last year. I think he technically made the roster as a linebacker last year, despite mostly being used as like an edge. So linebacker, also interesting. So you now have Zach Bourne, who's been, given a massive payday, which is absolutely sensational for my viewing at least. And I'm sure many of you guys as well. Jahad Campbell and Nakobe Dean are both in a weird spot where Jahad Campbell should be good to go. We know Nakobe's going to miss a bit of time at the start of the year, right? So we can put him here now. So I don't think he's going to start the year or even be close to starting the team at that point. So you automatically, I think Jahad Campbell will be ready to go. We've seen him at OTAs kind of running individual drills and stuff. I think he's going to be fine. So he's there. Then you're going to be looking at Trotter. I mean, I don't rate Smile Mondon after Jeremiah Hart. What am I doing? Jeremiah. What am I doing? There we go. Absolute brain fuzz there. Right, that's 3. You kind of need one more. Bourne deserved every penny. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He deserved every penny and then probably a little bit more as well. Just a remarkable man. I'm so happy. That kind of made my whole offseason. Trotter Jr. is in. I think, is there one more we can put? I mean, you've technically got Jalix there as well. Maybe that's where they shoehorn Power Island, so you don't overstack the bottom of the edge chart, and you've just got because again you've got to think Jalix, and it's how you get the players on the roster. So for now, let's put him on, right? I'll put APR in and just see if we can get him on the roster, because if not, we've got issues. So cornerback again is something that gets, I think, a little bit more juicy than we potentially realize. So we know Cooper DeJean is going to be there. We know Quinion Mitchell is going to be there. We know, well, we don't know anything else, if I'm honest with you. I would like to say Keely Ringo is going to be there. That will be the one home run here. I'd like to think that Keely Ringo is absolutely going to be there in 2025. Beyond that, it gets really fuzzy because you've got Adoree Jackson, who I was fairly high on, right? I'm not his biggest fan, but I liked his play coming out of college at USC. I think he's done very well to sustain an NFL career. He's in that like Rasul Douglas tier of corner where he's just like now a rotational guy, has started for a bulk of his career. He's got a lot of experience in the NFC East, but he's not going to be someone that you hang your hat on, I think, for an entire year unless you kind of have to. So I think that's going to weirdly come down. I don't know. I mean, I will put Ringo first. Dark says Tariq Castro Fields also has NFL experience. If I'm honest, I'm not too familiar with his game. I won't sit here and lie and pretend I've seen his film. Like, I'm not too familiar with his game. But we'll put him down here then for a minute, right? TCF, we'll call him. We'll abbreviate it a bit. You're going to need Mac McWilliams, I don't think makes the roster. Just because, I mean, if you guys know, right? Like, we broke down that film together. I can't type and talk at the same time, which is really annoying. Most confusing player I've ever looked at. Oh, who are you thinking of? It's Lewis Sign. Oh, okay, yeah, Lewis does. All right, well, we'll take him back out. We'll put Sign there instead. Although he's a safety. Or is he a corner? I don't know. Either way, he's a DB. Yeah, when we went through Mac McWilliams' tape, it was the most confounding thing ever. I think someone made a really good point. It might have been Birdbrain. If it was, full credit to you. If not, you can just pretend you said it and take it anyway. But I'm pretty sure you said it doesn't look natural at corner because he's a safety that is being forced to play corner. And that was probably the most accurate representation that I'd had. Like, very tight-hipped. But it was odd. Like, he had everything that you want, but in different areas, if that makes sense. Like, good around the catch point when he gets there, but he gives up so much space off of press coverage, which is bad, but then he's got the speed to make it back. But then when he gets there, it's a little bit too late. And at the NFL level, like, half of those deep throws would have just absolutely toasted him. And I think you got about a lot of the fact that he, got away with the numbers that he has through just being in college with quarterbacks missing deep shots pretty regularly. It wasn't you. Might have been Doug. It was one of you. It was one of you geniuses. And yeah, I think that's probably the most accurate thing. So I don't think he makes the roster, which still leaves us in a bit of a bind, because there's also then talk of, obviously, Cooper potentially moving to safety. which would explain why they've drafted McWilliams if they want to keep him in the nickel. But that in itself then also becomes difficult. So we're going to have to put Adoree Jackson on. I don't think he doesn't make the roster, right? Like, I think he's the only veteran there. He's the oldest player in that room by a country mile. Like, at the minute, DeJean second year, Mitchell second year, Ringo third year. Jackson will be, in his sixth year, I think now. Then it comes down to, like, Eli Ricks, maybe. I mean, and you still don't have a devout starting nickel cornerback. You've got Quignon, you've got Keeley, and then, like, maybe Cooper, unless you move him, and then you're going to need... To me, that would be more of a sign of why they signed Parry Nickerson, because he does have slot experience. So if we put Parry Nickerson here, just for temporary measures, because now you've got a starting nickel, starting CB1, starting CB2, a backup corner that can play both boundary spots and a backup nickel, or a starting nickel if Coop moves to safety at some point. I think that is going to be the best bet. But we've not worked out how many names we've got yet. So we could get to the end of the safety list and realize we've got to cut a couple more players. And that's where the fun's going to start. So safety, Reed Blankenship is going absolutely nowhere for the time being. Then it gets on. We know Andrew McCuba is going to be there. Really interestingly, I know you said this last week, Devontae Smith, very high on Andrew McCuba, which is certainly exciting to hear ahead of training camp. So beneath that, you've got question marks over Sydney Brown. We don't know really what's there. I think it's been too up and down. Tristan McCullum is a special team. I think he might nick something. Probably spelled his name wrong. I've butchered that, but we know what we mean. He's been really solid. I think that you need special teams depth, and Tristan McCullum has done that for the majority of his career. I think there's a reason that he's still on that roster, and it's probably going to be that. Andre Sam, Lewis signed, both of them. Yeah, Lewis signed safety. Okay, I thought it was going crazy for a minute. But both of them, the same sort of boundary. Like, they could be special teamers as the time goes by. But I just don't know. That's the really weird. Because realistically, in an ideal world, with this depth chart, you'd have Reed and McCuba starting, or... Yeah, I don't know. Because unless you're not going to have many sets with three safeties for Coop. But I know there's been this. I'm fascinated by this experimental set with Cooper DeJean apparently playing safety or potentially filling in at safety and taking some snaps there. Just because I think, again, we've gone over this a few times, but when he was first drafted and he was injured, Vic Fangio was like, we want to keep things light for him. We don't want to overload him, so we're going to keep him in the nickel for now. And then he just blew everyone away at it. And now it's year two, and it's like, well, do they up the workload? Do they move him to safety? But you've just signed a second-round player. So unless you move McCuba downhill, or I don't know. But you've got the versatility to do it. And then obviously here you've got Jake Elliott, Braden, man. And I think that's it for kicker and punters. No one else is there I'm missing? Oh, long snapper. Who's apparently now Charlie Hewlett. Did not know that. We've got to brush up on my place of knowledge. Right, let's see how many players we got. McCuba still hasn't signed his rookie deal yet, which is weird. Because I find that really weird now, because like that, it's not like it was in 2010, 2011. Because Sam Bradford was the last one to sign that rookie deal where you could kind of actually make significant, I say significant, they're not millionaires off their rookie deals, but you know what I mean? Like, where you can actually negotiate and have a rookie getting like $15 million a year. So I assumed it was all just, automatic that rookies sign their deal. I think I've ever written a story when Jahad Campbell signed his rookie deal. Like, I don't think I've ever written a story about any rookie signing a deal, because I'm like, it's just kind of assumed. But that is odd that then McCuba hasn't when we're this close to camp. So it has to be a hold-up for some reason. But without a hold-up, let's see how many players you got on defense and special teams, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24, which leaves us at 50. So we've actually got 3 spaces left. So that's interesting. So we've actually got a little bit more leverage. So let's just recap what we've got so far then. Sorry, my allergies are kicking right up. So unless I've added that up wrong, I wanted to make sure, okay? Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. This is really entertaining content. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 50. So we've got 50 players. So we've actually got room for 3 more. Normally, whenever I do these predictions, I end up with like 58 players, and I've got to cut so many of them. So I just want to make sure all of my guys get on. So with 3 extra players, where would the Eagles go? Is the next question. Birdbrain says most second-round picks haven't signed this year. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I like this. So for those on Twitter that are watching that haven't seen Birdbrain's comment, it says most second-round picks haven't signed this year yet because the Texans gave their pick a fully guaranteed contract, so others are holding out for the same, which is genuinely really interesting. So we'll see how that pans out. I mean, the Eagles have some flexibility to do it. So 3 players to add, unless my maths is terrible. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's 50. So it means you can keep the defensive ends. I think it means that you can probably stack another edge rusher. Will be the first place I look at. I mean, well, I'll tell a lie. Let's put Thomas Booker in because he was genuinely really good. Like, I know I talk a lot about this like 4-man rotation with the Eagles at defensive tackle. Super Bowl 52 when you ended up with just a brilliant rotation with Destiny Vine, you had Bo Allen, you had Fletcher Cox, you had Timmy Jernigan, and then this year Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and then Moro Ojomo. I think it's just worked really well. So I think that 4-man works really well. But if they've got space, in this scenario, they've got space. I think you add a player that has proven that he can come in a pinch and not only just play some snaps, but produce while doing so. Like his development has actually been, I think, one of the more pleasant surprises over the last couple of years of these, lower drafted, undrafted players coming in and making an impact. I hate to say it, I feel like they'd end up bringing Terrace Marshall, which I don't really want to do. The offensive line, I think we stacked, right? 1, 2, you got 2 bookend tackles, 2 backups and a swing one, 2 starting guards, and then potentially a swing center as well there behind Cam Jurgens. Who is his backup? Yeah, we've got Drew Campbell. I mean, maybe Brett Toth will come in. I know he's kind of been around the roster for a while. We've got to fill them somewhere. Do we give a roster spot to Smael Mondon? Because I just don't think he's. Ben Van Sumeren. Yes, we'll put him at linebacker / fullback / special teamer / wherever he wants to play. We'll put BVS in because we've not put him in yet, and I think that's. Yeah, is he not on the roster? Why isn't he on the depth chart on here? Have I missed him completely? Because he's not listed anywhere, or am I just being blind and I've just not seen him? No, I'm not. He is still with the Eagles, right? Let's just make sure. Somewhere, yeah. Yeah, that's odd. I mean, I guess he's just listed as a fullback now. And that, like, ESPN just don't agree that fullbacks is a real position. So I'm going to blame that on ESPN, all right? BVS is going to go in. I'm going to put him at linebackers. I can't be asked to make a new category for fullback. So that's 2. So 1 more player makes the cut. 1, 2, 3. Maybe I think it would have to be an edge rusher. It would have to be an edge rusher. But which one? Patrick Johnson? I don't think Johnson's done that much. I also thought that Patrick Johnson would be a player that had a bigger impact than he ultimately did. That is interesting. In an ideal world, it would have been Bryce Huff. I mean, he'd have had a perfect roster, but he had to go and be a weirdo. So that's not happening now. Or the only other option is Smael Mondon, I think. And I don't want to put Smael Mondon in because he's wank. Sorry for swearing. I'm not a fan. There's too many missed tackles. There was a lot of missed effort, I think, on the play. He was kind of jogging around a lot. Didn't like it. Hopefully that changes with the Eagles. Obviously, you can only judge off tape. And in fairness, if anyone can judge a Georgia Bulldog, it's Howie Roseman and his plethora of former Georgia Bulldogs. So maybe he makes it in and we're wrong. And what we saw on tape was just an exception to the rule and not the rule. And we actually see a much more higher effort, more consistent player. So I would, for this instance, I would just trust Howie Roseman. And we're going to put Smailmond on in. Or, you have Nakobe Dean if he gets healthy, I suppose. But, yeah, that, to me, probably makes the most sense. And then the only player not to make it, I think, out of that rookie class is literally Matt McWilliams, because I don't know what they do with him. Like, I think that comes down to if he's going to outperform Harry Nickerson, who's had a pretty good career up to this point as a nickel corner. I just don't see that happening. How do you feel about Avery Williams? He's a returner, has experience at the corner and running back. Rumors say the Eagles want him as a receiver. I've not seen too much of his game. Like, the name rings a bell. Who was he with? The Falcons. Okay, I'm gonna. I mean, we've done the predictions in a minute, but we watched them. Highlights aren't the best indicator, but I just want to get a feel for him. I like that. That's a man who knows what he's doing with his YouTube analytics. Good start. No, I'm pointing you out. I'm sorry. I mean, the Eagles do kind of have. I mean, yeah, in fairness, they need to stop Cooper DeJean just returning punts and stuff, because I don't think that's sustainable. As good as he is. And I mean, they've got options there. I know they kind of mess around with a few different players and stuff, but if the Eagles want him, I mean, I think that would be more of a sign that they're unhappy with that slot position. Yeah, no more Britton Covey. That's kind of the worst thing. Yeah, that is a good point. I was just thinking that. Like, that's kind of what I went silent after saying about Cooper DeJean. I was just going like, he's going to have to take them all now, isn't he? Because Britton Covey's not there. So maybe they do need someone. I was just like really subtly going over it in my head. Yeah, they might well need someone. I mean, if I'm honest, I'm not seeing anything outstanding. Well, hang on, who's got welcome to the Eagles? Is he on the team already, or am I tripping? Hang on, no, I'm not having that. He's not on the Eagles roster, is he? Is he? Have I missed that? Oh, he is. I know. He's at running back. That's why. Apparently, ESPN's put him at running back. I don't know. I don't know, if I'm honest with you. Why is that playing again? He doesn't look that quick. And I know, obviously, this is off a kickoff rule now, where obviously everything has gone and changed. So you can't really judge kick returns the way you used to 2 years ago. But I don't think he's offering anything. Yeah, like even that cut there, look. He kind of cuts on the outside foot rather than the inside. I don't. It's okay. I mean, if he performs well in camp, then we'll go with it. You know, if we've got a free roster spot and he's good in camp and they need to find that replacement for Covey, then I think we'll absolutely go with it. But we'll have to try and do some filming. We've got a few players. Like Terrace Marshall's another one I think I absolutely have to dig into, because I'm just not a fan of him and I want to prove myself wrong and go back on my word and say, you know what? Fine. I was wrong. I think he's worthy of a roster spot. And then I can start rooting for him a bit, you know? Marina, nice to see you, says Dylan is RB2. Yeah, so this isn't a... I've already got an RB2 anyway. So this isn't a depth chart prediction. This is just a roster prediction. So I promise the fact that, for instance... well, that's a good one. Oh, in fairness, it's actually not that bad for a starting depth chart either, is it? It's pretty bang on. So, all right, either way, yeah. But I agree. Yeah, Dylan will probably be over Shipley. Although I do like Shipley immensely. I do think he's going to be capped and he's not going to get a ton of work there. Like, you've got a reliable downhill runner with Dylan. I think that's going to be worth its weight in gold, especially down near the red zone. Like, as much as I like Shipley, depends on the look, depends on the package and what they want the running back to do. But I think as a receiving option, I prefer Shipley. As a get Saquon out and churn up a first down when it's 3rd and 3, I think AJ Dillon is the perfect fit for that. If it's worth anything, Bird Brain says Sirianni brought him up in a press conference. My guess is I'd use him in a role similar to Smith. Oh, but I want Smith. Maybe I was just being ignorant this whole time because I just want Ainias Smith to get the roster spot. Maybe that was it. I'll tell you, we'll do some digging then. We'll do one of our streams next week and we'll look at Avery Williams, and if there could be some upside, we'll try and dig into some all 22. And yeah, we'll see what we can find with him. I mean, what were his stats like? Can we see that? And is that going to work? Yeah, we'll go here. Brilliant. No stats apparently. Cheers, ESPN. There we go. He's been around a few years. Didn't play in 2023. Predominantly just been a returner, isn't he? Predominant return. I mean, random stint of rushing for 22 carries in 2022. 5 yards a carry as well, which isn't bad at all. He carried 22 times, so. All right, I think you've perked my ears. You've perked my ears. We will do a dive onto Avery Williams at some point next week. All right, there's a promise for you. Wilson and Smith. If I'm honest, Marina, I think Smith will be. I think Aeneas Smith he's not making it. But this is my roster prediction and my space to be delusional, and I think he makes it. But what's up, Ron? Nice to see you. So let's go position by position. We'll recap it. This is my first roster prediction for 2025. Okay, and then that's not the full practice squad. Obviously, it's just names there that I think aren't quite going to make the cut, and they'll end up there. And obviously, you've got Nakobe, who will start the year on IR. So quarterback, Jalen Hurts is your QB3. Joking. Tanner McKee is potentially going to be QB2 in DTR. I think again, realistically, DTR is going to be QB2. As much as I love Tanner McKee and I would give my spare kidney for him. I think that you just need NFL experience in that spot. Again, if it's week 15, you're down 3 points, there's 2 minutes to go, Jalen Hurts goes down with an injury, who are you putting in at the minute? I think it just is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And I hate to say it because I'm really not that much of a fan of him. But from a coach perspective, you'd probably want a bit more. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I would love Tanner McKee to win out the QB2 spot and have Jalen just become this mentor for him, because I think Jalen's past the point of needing a mentor. It's not like we're in prime Carson Wentz era and he needs a clipboard QB like Chase Daniel to carry the load. I think we're at a point where Hurts knows enough. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He's been through enough adversity. He knows his game, his strengths, his weaknesses, and he can pass that on to guys who aren't going to threaten to take his spot and guys that could then go on to carve NFL careers elsewhere. So yeah, I think in an ideal world, McKee be QB2, but I think it'll probably be DTR for this year anyway. Wilson has terrible body control and bad hands. It's more the I think about McCall there for it. I read the things wrong. Johnny Wilson had terrible body control. Right, let's get some Johnny Wilson film on there. We'll have that because I like Johnny Wilson. I think he was really solid last year in spurts for the Eagles. I mean, I think the difficulty is that he just basically is a fringe tight end, right? Like, he's going to look bad compared to Devontae Smith, who runs like an absolute speed demon, or Jahan Dotson, or even AJ Brown, who just is Optimus Prime. Like, we're talking about someone that he's built like a fringe tight end, so he's going to move a little bit more jaggedy. But I think he's got the physicality where, again, like if you look at this position at the minute, if Brown was to go down, like who takes the X spot? Like, you keep Smitty in the Z because that's where he's most efficient. Dotson's you can put Dotson out there and then maybe put Smith in the slot or Wilson or Terrace Marshall, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm putting Terrace Marshall on my roster prediction without sufficient evidence that he's worthy of a spot, because I just do not see it and I never have. But for now, admittedly, he might be needed, Marina, in your situation. I think he might be needed. So there's that. I think Johnny Wilson's the team's J-Jaw, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that's a really good comp. Like, if J-Jaw was mildly competent, if that I get what you're saying there. I think J-Jaw just was a jump ball specialist and had inflated numbers, and then there was the whole just personality thing and just wasn't quite ready for it. It sucked it didn't pan out, but Wilson is very much of that same mold. I get what you're saying there for sure. They tried to use him in this slot a few times, and Calcaterra got the looks. Even at his height, he couldn't get separation. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like, and I've said this for years as well. Like, going back to 2017, I think. I think they've just looked for a big slot. They've looked for a big slot receiver for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. And they've not really found a guy to do it. And I think they're kind of hoping Wilson can maybe be that guy, but we shall see. Lamb and Pryor are backup swings. I don't know. I think they've invested too much in young talent. I love Matt Pryor. I interviewed Matt when maybe like a month after he was drafted because I ended up developing a bit of a rapport with his agent. I interviewed like 4 or 5 of his clients before the draft, and Pryor was one of them. He got drafted, and I had a chat with him, and it was a really surreal moment because he just finished like a gym workout, was at the gym, and was talking about Big V because they both went to TCU and how they got on and were really close. And Vaitai was the first one to text him when he got drafted. And he was just a really nice guy, like really happy to go into all sorts from like diet and draft preparation to emotions on the night to his expectations of the NFL and what he's doing to prepare for it. To technical stuff and things he wants to work on. Like he just gave me like 40 minutes of his time, and he was the nicest guy ever. And I'm so happy he's back because he just was an absolute gem. I doubt he'd remember it, but I think that's kind of the nice thing with stuff like that, is that for players, like that's their day to day. It's part of their routine. They might talk to a few press reporters or whatever. But for me, being in England, like that call will always sit with me, just because he was only meant to give me like 10 minutes. He ended up giving me like 45 or something. And just a really, really nice guy who, didn't have to give me that much time. So a lot of time for Matt Pryor. The only reason I've not added him here is purely because trying to stack as many of these young guys as we can, right? Like Keegan Kinnard, Cameron Williams, Drew Kendall. Obviously, I know it's not the same position, but you know what I mean. And then obviously they've gone out and traded for Kenyon Green by proxy in the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade. So I mean that's up for reshaping. I think I would love to see Matt Pryor there. Green is practice squad at best, so yeah. I mean, but at the same time, it's like you still need a veteran, especially with Steen. I think that's the thing. Like Tyler Steen, now he was meant to get that starting role last year. He didn't because Mekhi Becton was just infinitely better. This is now his 3rd year. Like he has to step up and own this role. And if he doesn't, you need an insurance policy behind him. Whether that's Kenyon Green, whether that's Matt Pryor, whether that's whoever, they're going to need one of them there. So, or maybe we'd put him in. Maybe we'd put him in over like Holland Pierce or something. I don't know. Now I feel bad for not including Pryor because I've got a bias because I interviewed him once. But for the sake of this, we'll keep it as it is. So running backs are unchallenged. Don't we need to talk too much about running back? Saquon's your number 1. Dylan will be number 2. Oh, I've deleted that. And obviously Shipley number 3. Receivers caused us a bit of a headache. We had AJ Smitty, Wilson, Dotson, and Aeneas Smith. Smith is the one for me where realistically, if you ask any other Eagles beat reporter, it's Terrace Marshall. I'm petty. I'm not a fan of Terrace Marshall Jr.'s game. I never understood the hype, and I will not include him until my mind changes. So for me, I'm happy to back a player that I backed in the draft, that I wanted the Eagles to take in the draft, and back that he can develop enough for the Eagles to go, do you know what? You're worthy of that spot. It won't happen. Like if you're a betting man, you would love your house on Terrace Marshall to make the roster over Aeneas Smith. But call me the Michael Burry of roster predictions. All right, it's the Big Short. Let me cook up something and wait for these mortgage bonds to fail. Tight end, that one's up for debate. All right, Goddard's his starter. Calcaterra's going to be there because he's got some value. Kylan Granson or Harrison Bryant. Take your pick your poison, flip a coin, do a little dancing and hope for the best. I think it's going to be one of them, maybe even both, depending how many roster spots they've got. And then you've got Johnson, Mailata, Lamb, Williams-Pierce, Steen, Dickerson, Green, Keegan Kinnard, Jurgens and Kendall. Now, he's a Holland Pierce has got. I mean, he still shows on the roster here, unless you mean he's literally going and he's not going to make the roster, which I wouldn't be too surprised at. But yeah, he still shows here. But again, I mean, like what I've tried to do here is just stack as many of the young guys as we can. Like realistically, if the Eagles can afford to drop players and put them on the practice squad as rookies, then they will. The difficulty they have is if you've got like a 4th or 5th, 6th, 7th round pick and you risk him to the waiver wire and he gets poached by someone before you can put him on the practice squad, you lose out a really good player. A really good player. And the offensive line is in a bit of a bind where Lane Johnson's getting older, Dickerson's fine, Jurgens is young, Steen's fine. But these tackles, you're going to need someone to develop and get ready. Because Lane, if we're being honest, 3 to 5 years max, I would say. I don't know. Like, I don't want to. I want Lane Johnson here forever. Like, I want him to do a Jason Peters and just never go away, because he is a beautiful athlete, like even more beautiful person. And you just could not ask for a better embodiment of the Eagles franchise than Lane Johnson. However, knowing the ankle surgeries, knowing that he's getting a bit older, it's crazy he's still performing at the level that he is. But they do need to be smart in trying to develop, which is what they're doing, which is why you've now got, Cameron Williams and Holland Pierce there. You've got the veteran for now, which I think is the right player. He's the 10-year veteran in Kendall Lamb. 2 rookies in behind who should develop. And then at guard, you've got plenty of guys that may be able to swing around and develop, with someone like Matt Pryor potentially just watching over and giving him some guidance. Same with Landon Dickerson. And then Kendall to learn under Jurgens. I think that works really well. Defensive tackle, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, I think needs no introduction. Ty Robinson, really, really like him. I think he's going to be a menace to society for the Eagles. He's going to be so good. Perfect replacement for Milton Williams. And then you've got Moro Ojimo at the bottom. And the last one we snuck on was Thomas Booker, just because we had a spare roster spot. And to me, he has been one of the few players that, as I said earlier, has come through as a lesser-known player, developed from special teamer to like a preseason standout, to then getting snaps in the regular season and making the most of them. That's not easy, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And if you can keep him on there and you've got that extra body and you've got some optionality, then I'm all for it. Edge, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche, Aziz Ojulari. You've got the star, you've got the up-and-coming wonder kid, and you've got the 2 vets that have like 12 sacks between them in 2024. I think that one needs no introduction. Do I think I'll break down specific preseason games? Yeah, I could do. I don't see why I couldn't be able to do that. We could, I mean, I used to do it with Jordan Mailata, so that's kind of where the PSN channel blew up originally. If I can do it, if I could get access to the game, which I should do on the NFL app that costs me an arm and a leg each month, then I don't see why not. At the very least, we'll do recaps. Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, at the very least, as I said, we can kind of go back over the preseason game together and maybe rewatch it and hopefully not get like copyright struck or anything. But yeah, I don't see a reason why we can't, maybe do a spotlight on a standout player or an underdog or a roster battle or something like that and just look at the preseason footage. Or I can just make clips and try and make a video. But I'm trying to save videos for if we have to make a new channel, which I'll get to when the timing is right for that. There could be just a big, exciting PSN thing coming. But anyway, for stream-wise, we'll see. I'm just yapping. We'll see. Marina says, Bourne, Campbell, Mondon, Dean, and Trotter at linebacker. We've got all of them. Bourne, Campbell, Trotter. But Nakobe Dean, I think, will start the season on IR. So that's the only reason he's not on that spot at the minute. It's just because I don't think he'll be ready by week 1. So they can stash him on IR and temporarily bring on one of these 3. I think APR, you could just switch him and Jalix Hunt. It's just a way to get him in. Like, he's not really a linebacker, but if you remember, my microphone's come out. Hang on. Don't do this. Don't do this to me now. Sorry. Not sure. Can you still hear me? God damn it. That's so annoying. There we go. Sorry, my microphone came out, and I probably looked like I was holding up Simba from The Lion King. Really frustrating. Yeah, Jalix Hunt last year obviously made the roster as technically a linebacker, ended up playing more defensive end. I think, in all fairness, he's going to be at edge this year. APR is an edge rusher. However, we're going to probably put him at linebacker just to get him on the roster. To be fair, it doesn't really matter. It's the same spot anyway, isn't it? We can put in here for now. And then I think BVS is at fullback, obviously, but technically, just because I can't be asked to add fullback here, we're going to keep him at linebacker. And then Smell Mondon. But I'm not a Mondon fan. He'll make the cut because he's from Georgia. He's a 4th-round pick. But I don't see it. I think there's a lot of questions to be answered for him. So hopefully he can grow. Hopefully he can develop. But it's a solid linebacker group for sure. Can we get everyone in on the watch-along stream for the Dallas game? I think we've been experimenting with sorry, I just read Timor's call. I get to that in a minute. You sassy little bunny rabbit. Bouncing in this stream. I think we can. I think so. Duck, we've been experimenting with like recaps. So you might notice in the draft, we normally do the big draft watch-alongs that last 8 hours and deprive us of all sanity. And instead, this time we did like a preview of each day and then a recap like after each round. And that did work better from a logistical standpoint of just having the people around to do it. And I think especially for a game, it might work a bit better. But I will be doing market research. I'll be looking to see what other YouTube channels do. Like, is there going to be much competition? Or can we even get people into the stream for something like that? Or do we go, like, as soon as the game ends, we go live, we give our instant reaction, and we go that angle? There will be game day content, though, regardless. So I think a watch-along for the first one would be cool. It depends on, I guess, availability. Duck wants to watch along. All right, well, Duck has spoken. And I'm not one to ignore Duck. So I will pitch it to the Flipping the Birds group, as I'm totally not a pushover, and I will see if they're available. But as I said, anyway, there will be something. Everyone does pre and post. Yeah, true. But watch-alongs, I think, are hard to sustain. It depends how many people you have. Like, if it's just one person, for instance, with me, I know it can get a little bit jarring, probably at the best of times. If we can get 4 or 5, like me, Brian, Corey, Zach, Morgan, and a few of the other boys on, like Chris, maybe, like, it'll be great to have everyone together, and that will be a lot of fun. So we'll see. We'll be throwing some ideas up, but I'm sure, as you've seen on the channel, there's like a ton of content coming up. So we're hard at work on the YouTube side of things, and make no mistake, whether it's a watch along or a recap of some kind, there will be some form of chaos on the opening day. And now to get to Timor's comment, who is our resident San Francisco 49ers fan. Hello, Liam. Hola, Tom. Tommy, Timor. I think I called you Tom. That's probably a red flag, a red card there. Not to intrude into enemy territory, but when you have finished talking about how the Eagles will be going 0-17 next season, can you check the fantasy group chat? Yeah, all right. I'll do it as soon as I finish the stream. I think I've got to fill out a questionnaire for our fantasy group chat. So that's fun. I did well in fantasy last year. So let that be known. I came second in our fantasy group last year. Sometimes British people do no ball. Not enough to win, but enough to come second. Although Timor will tell you it was because of strength of schedule. I was the strength of schedule. I was the strength of schedule that season, let it be known. Completely unrelated, a different sport, but I hope you're going to enjoy the Phillies getting swept this midweek. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Timor. Thank you very much. Anyway, back onto corner. This one, I think, again, can cause a little bit of headaches. We've got Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, Keely Ringo. Then I think Adoree Jackson stays. Parry Nickerson has the experience. Like, I think it comes down to how much Cooper's going to play in the slot versus safety and how much depth they want. Whereas you still got guys like Eli Ricks on the roster. And I love Eli Ricks, and I think he developed really nicely last year. So he's someone I'd like to keep around. If they can't, I mean, you need, like, realistically, if Quinion or Coop goes down, you want a veteran that can immediately step in and fill the void. I think Jackson does that quite well if he's not already starting. Keely Ringo certainly does that quite well, and Parry Nickerson's a proven vet. So your cornerback room's a little bit lighter than it probably has been in recent years. However, it's so stacked. Like, those 3 guys alone are incredible. I'm such a big fan of Ringo. Vic said DeJean might play safety and base defense, which last year. So you are, I like that. You are locked in, Marina Sands. You're locked in to finding those numbers. So that's really interesting. So in that case, we can assume he'll stay in the nickel for the most part. And that cornerback room is absolutely fine. And then at safety, Reed Blankenship, Andrew McCuber, Sydney Brown might start on IR. I don't really know. And then a special teamer in Tristan McCullum. That takes us to 53 when you include Jake Elliott, Braden Mann, and Charlie Hewlett. So there we go. I'd say that's a pretty solid first guess, right? And I'll keep this on record. And what I will do is, when the 53 announcement or 53-man roster gets announced, say about that. When that gets announced, what I will do is come back onto the stream and we'll go through player by player and see how many we got right. I think that's a fun challenge, right? Obviously, I'm giving up one because Smith is not going to make the roster over Terrace Marshall, but can I let my generational hate watch end to be right? The answer is no. The answer is no. I will let the hate watch continue, and I will back the player that I had a draft crush on that has given me absolutely no reason to back him going into year 2, because that's how we roll here at PSN. So I hope you've enjoyed that. As Timor drops, such a big fan of Ringo, Thomas the Tank Ken enjoyed. That's so good. Oh, comment of the night. That is comment of the night. And on that bombshell, we're going to end it there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It was a little bit of a change of pace from the film rooms, and I think we've worked out some roster battles and some more film rooms you want to take a look at. Terrence Marshall being one, A.V. Williams being another, potentially a couple of other players here. Like, it'll be interesting to go into the rookie offensive linemen, someone like Holland Pierce, Cameron Williams, Darian Kinnard as well, just to see what they offer, how likely they are to make the Eagles roster without going into training camp. I think that can be a lot of fun. So plenty more content coming. Tomorrow you're going to have Flipping the Birds with Brian and the gang. You're also going to have Shoot Another Fly show with Sir Christopher of Babossington. And then Wednesday you've got myself. Thursday you've got a Sixers stream. And then Friday you might have a little bonus one as well. So plenty of content coming on PSN. And on your way out of the theatre, as always, if you could leave a like, that will be absolutely sensational. I'm glad Duck picked up on the Top Gear reference. I'm glad it didn't fall on completely deaf ears. Thank you all for hanging out and engaging in the discussion. I always like stuff like this because we can just kind of throw different opinions around, you know, find out who we're high on, who we're not on, where we think the roster battles are, where I'm totally wrong, which I'm sure is going to be quite a lot of this. And also just, see where you guys are at. And I like seeing the stats and stuff you guys bring up. Like Marina Sands bringing up the 180 snaps thing, I think was really, really cool. And it's such a cool thing to just have a group chat, essentially, where we're all just chatting birds for an hour and throwing around little bits of info that other people might have missed, like I did with that, you know, how deep the base play coverage went. Just a lot of fun. So thank you all for hanging out. We'll be back again on Wednesday. And until next time, sorry for the aneurysm with the never-ending screens here. Go Birds.